Hello, this is Pastor DeWayne, and I just wanted to share a few thoughts and encouragement with you. If you're like me, sometimes your mind tends to drift toward heaven and being together with the loved ones and your friends that have gone before, the great cloud of witnesses that will be up there together with you. Like the songs that we've sang. I grew up singing when the roll is called up yonder. Everybody will be happy over there. All those great Blue Book songs. There will be a glorious reunion in heaven. We know that. And that's a hope that we hold on to, that our loved ones are there waiting for us. Most importantly, Jesus is there waiting for us. And when we see Jesus face to face, I can't even imagine what my response will be. And if you are familiar with the song, that is the whole basis of the song, I Can Only Imagine, that was released about 20 years ago from Bart Millard and Mercy Me. A few years ago, they made a movie about that song, I Can Only Imagine what it will be like when I walk by your side, surrounded by your glory. What will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus, or in awe of you be still? So what will we do? How will we respond when we see Jesus? It's going to be a glorious day. And I think we need to remind ourselves more of that. So many of us go around and maybe we're weighted down with everything of the world. And we got to remember that there is a blessed hope. There will be that day when we are reunited with our family and we will see Jesus face to face. I saw a movie years ago that depicted heaven. I think it was a Robin Williams movie. And there was one part where they said, they get to heaven, he's in heaven. And they said, where's God? And they said, oh, he's up there somewhere, whatever, like he's not there. Well, that's not heaven. Because God, we will dwell, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, the psalmist says. So that's what we have to look forward to. I recently had a chance to talk to Bart Millard, who wrote I Can Only Imagine. And he talked a little bit about the journey since that song 20 years ago and how it's changed his life, how it's changed his band. And the band has a new song out called Say I Won't, which is about identity in Christ and not giving up and persevering even when people say, even when your voices in your head say to give up, just keep pressing on. So I just wanted to share that with you today. I'm so glad you tuned in. I pray that you're having a blessed day and that this will just touch your heart today. God bless you. You had to know all these people, were like cheering you on and cheering on the whole release. And we all kind of felt a little bit of invested in your story, so.
Man, I think that's part of the reason it had such success is that we had people all over, it's like, just anything that's faith-based, it does have this sense of, we're kind of all in this thing together, kind of cheering on. And, it's this, I say sometimes it feels like us against the world, because Hollywood wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And, and Christian fans are incredibly loyal and they get it. They get the bigger picture. So it was a really cool kind of win for everyone involved. And we have so many people that kind of, in a way, take ownership and they should. It wouldn't have been that big without the legion of Christians out there that got behind it.
Right. How has it, and I want to talk about your new album, but just while we're talking about that movie, how has it changed your audience? Or has it?
Yeah, I mean, before pandemic, the size was the biggest thing. Like we, and they kind of warned us. They said, man, even with a bad movie, like your whole brand, when it rains, it pours, and you're going to see it in everything. And we were like, okay, when Imagine went mainstream 20 years ago, we're like, oh, we thought we had seen it before, but never on this scale. Like, man, we were going, I bet after the movie, we would do about 4,000, average about 4,000 people a night before that, even because the movie trailer came out like that fall, right about the time that you guys saw it. And even with that, we started seeing a little uptick. And then after the movie, we were doing anywhere from 10 to 15,000 people a night. And it was just like, wow, what is happening? And it wouldn't and that was, I think it was 2018. So we probably did 3 or 4 tours since then. and it wouldn't level out. And now, I mean, it's like the perfect storm, like with Even If and Best News. All the songs did really well, and Even If did incredibly well right when the movie came out. So all that kind of stuff together was like, we were like, wow, we've never seen anything like this. Then the pandemic hit, and a weird way, even though it's tough for a lot of people, for us it was like we needed to take a breath so badly that once we knew that our health was okay. We got COVID Christmas, it was very mild, but we just got a point where we were like, man, we may never get this chance again. And so we hunkered down with our families. And there are days when the most important thing I did was figure out what flavor ice cream I'm eating with my 11-year-old daughter, and that was okay with me. And so
right.
it was a cool, horrible for so many people, but we made the best of it and worked on this album forever. And it became like a precious season for us and our families.
When people know your story, because you laid it all out through the book and through the movie, and now they see you, you don't know them, but they feel like they know you.
Right.
Isn't that how weird of a feeling is that when they maybe reference something from your personal life, like, and in their minds, there's maybe a disconnect, like, oh,
right.
Bart is my buddy because I went on this journey with him. And so it probably has to take some grace for you to, kind of, deal with people like that.
It was definitely, it was definitely weird. I mean, I guess the good side of that was that not to the extent that we saw after the movie, but imagine it took off like 17 or 18 years before, and what's crazier is that, like, someone has a loved one pass away and they use Imagine a Funeral, they would approach me for years thinking that we knew each other just from the song, like
right.
And so it wasn't it didn't come out of nowhere, like people approaching me with some of the heaviest stories you could imagine, no pun intended. And it was, there were a lot more of them after the movie, but I guess kind of we were a little conditioned of like, okay,
right.
we were not, I can't say we were used to what happened after the movie, but we had experienced some of it. And even more so, like the movie might have helped a little bit, because I feel like they did have a little bit knowledge of me before. They just assumed I was Billy Graham. I could have been in prison. They would have thought I was Billy Graham just from the song. And that's that's a scary place to be, is they think you're a super Christian because you wrote 4 minutes of music that happens to rhyme. And it's like, man, and so the conversations I had with people that actually saw the movie were a little more compelling, honestly, because they actually did know a little bit about me. So it wasn't too bad. And it was. I mean, you always have those couple of weird ones here and there. For the most part, it wasn't bad.
Your single that's out now, or the one that maybe be in service to Say I Won't, is inspirational, and there's a story behind it. I wondered if you could share a little bit about. It seems like, from what I know about you guys, is you get a lot of listener input, and you kind of process it and maybe speak things that are on your heart to encourage and uplift and stuff. Is that what happened with the song?
Well, I mean, yes and no. Like the listener input's probably a little newer to us. Like normally it's just, I lament, like that's songwriting's how I work things out. And fortunately or unfortunately, whatever, it connects with a lot of people as far as like going through similar difficulties or whatever. And so we kind of joked about, like, we've written our fair share of funeral songs, if you will, over the years. And Say I Won't is strictly about living and living every second to its fullest, because you never know what's going to come. And this whole song started before probably early 2019. Gary Miracle is the guy that's in our video, and he was our first merch guy. He was our guitar player's roommate. We've known him for 25 years, a dear friend. And before he got sick, we had these text conversations about our identity in Christ and the concept and the idea and the truth that, even on your worst possible day, God's not just okay with you; He's pleased with you, and just processing that with Him. And so a lot of the verses in the song are talking about identity. It's talking about when you realize that the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead is inside of you. When you get that, everything changes. Like the line, driving 35 with a rocket inside, didn't know what I had. And that's where it started. Well, then Gary got really sick and had a septic shock, and we almost lost him. And while being on life support to keep him alive, he was on it so long that he kind of lost the circulation in his limbs, and they knew that we can save him, but we're gonna have to take his arms and legs. And pandemic hits, and so we had to watch from a distance. And just his attitude through the whole thing was unbelievable. He has his bad days, don't get me wrong, but just this, what keeps him going is that there's purpose. Somehow there's purpose in this. And so we were talking, and he was like, man, I just the idea of knowing that people may be inspired to overcome what they're going through, possibly because of this. He goes, that's what gets me out of bed each morning. And so we had the idea of like, man, because he's a dear friend, I was like, hey man, we'd like to try to tell your story for you. And I all of a sudden say I won't. I finished it during that season. It became like this overcomer, like Rocky moment, like, I can do all things through Christ, and keep saying I won't, and I'll keep proving you wrong. But it's crazy because both parts of the song had to do with Gary. I just things I went through with Gary, and so it just seemed fitting, and he was so excited to be a part of it, and kind of occupied his time, just got so wrapped up in it. And the video turned out great. And I don't think I would ever, I'm not the guy that could tell that story if I didn't know the person. I feel like I'm exploiting something and trying to make a song more powerful. And that feels kind of sticky to me. But Gary's one of our dearest friends. And I think, and he even said, he goes, I probably would have told anyone else no, because it's you guys. It's like, we're literally getting to walk through this together, which is really cool. And it's nothing out of the normal. We would have done this. We would have been walking with him through this, whether there was a song or not. And so he just feels really safe and trusts us. And it's been a really amazing and humbling and experience. And he just, every day he amazes me more of just his attitude and it's been so much fun to see people reach out to him and respond to the song. And so it's been it's the least we could do with everything he's gone through and what he means to us.
So if you went back, 20 years ago, if you could talk to Bart in 2001, when you're getting started, or when you're signing your first, I know you had independent projects before that, but before kind of like Imagine, have you ever thought about what you might say or?
Oh man, if I could go back, I would tell him, one, to enjoy it, but just stop worrying that it's going to be over as quick as it started.
Right.
If I knew that, I probably wouldn't have made so many rash decisions at times, and just, I mean, gosh, can you imagine going, hey, you're just getting started. I know for you got at least 27 solid years or whatever, or like this much time to do it, when most bands only last a couple of years. That would, but at the same time, not knowing, there was probably a little bit of drive because, we don't know what's around the corner. Right. But I would say enjoy every second of it as much as you can. Don't let it, there's a lot of things that pass me by that I'd reminisce on going, man, no idea how awesome that was at the time, or the opportunity that we had. And so I think, like most things, it's like, man, just slow down and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Bart. I really appreciate it. I look forward to hearing the rest of the record, the disco song and the song with your son and everything. Thank you for giving me some time today.
Absolutely. Well, good talking to you.
Have a great day.
All right.
Look forward to great things out of you.
Take care.
God bless.